Yes.
Are these Shadowmoss ponds part of what you're looking at because they drain in?
Sir.
Okay.
They are.
Some of these are private owned and some of them are city owned.
Okay.
And if you guys have recommendations to make and it affects one of our private ponds, is there going to be funding to assist us with that? Or is that something the HOA has to bear?
Right now, as you mentioned, there are a lot of features throughout the basin that are privately owned. By privately owned, I mean they're owned by the HOA. That is a common, I guess, policy or practice in the municipal arena because municipalities typically don't want to build into their budgets, I guess, the assets to take care of the private ponds. They have a drainage easement that maybe runs right down the middle of them, but they don't have in their budgets to maintain, I guess, those ponds over a long period of time. I think our recommendations initially are not going to consider who owns the asset. We're going to be looking strictly initially at the technical aspects of what needs to be done as far as who has to do it and who has to pay for it. I think, we'll certainly look at that at the tail end of our study when we start making recommendations associated with capital improvements. But I think that HOAs, when subdivisions were initially developed, HOAs signed agreements. The developer signed agreements. Excuse me, I didn't want. Don't let me misspeak. Developers signed agreements, and when homeowners purchased in those areas, they agreed to make contributions to support maintenance of features that were owned by the HOA. Is that the best scenario? I don't think so. I think there needs to be probably a review of those practices to look at what could be maybe developed that would be a little bit in the best interest from a long-term standpoint, because typically neighborhoods aren't, I guess they don't have a system set up to do a large construction project to remove the silt from a 5-acre pond or a 3-acre pond. So that's a really good point.
Well,
if I could interrupt just a second.
Yes.
This is a map. I'm going to put it out front on the table if anybody wants to see it on the way out. It's a map of all the ponds in Shadowmoss with a legend on who is responsible for which one.
That's great.
kind of a follow-up on that. So without, you're saying it's coming on the tail end, I understand that.
Right.
But if the city's not willing to fund it, will the city be able to order us to make whatever recommendations you're talking about?
I think making a statement to address that at this point would maybe a little premature. I think it's going to be more appropriate to wait and see the things that could be done, should be done, and have to be done.
Okay.
And then I guess at that point we'll have to figure out who has to pay for what, and if there's some type of collaborative approach that might be developed to make the overall program more effective. Yes.
That pond that the lady was talking about being privately owned.
Yes.
It's good that the mayor is here and the members of the city council.
Right.
That pond was bought at a tax sale about 8 or 10 years ago.
Okay.
The guy paid $5,000 for it. He can't do anything with it. It's mostly pond. It's got a little bit of land on it. Not enough to do anything with. It's on the tax records as undevelopable.
Right.
And I don't know why the city doesn't just give the guy his $5,000 back and take over the pond, because it's in this drainage basin.
Well,
And
I think
in a central part of the
I
drainage.
think maybe you bringing that issue up tonight, certainly when we're doing the drainage study, if that's something that would make a contribution to the overall performance of the system, that might be one of the recommendations that comes out of this study. So,
You should never, it's injustice really to take the guy's $5,000 and then he can't do a damn thing with it, so.
make sure you send me a comment somehow on that particular pond.
Bob, we could all send you things if you gave us your emails.
Did y'all pass around the sheets?
I think they ran out or something.
Actually, I'm going to get them emailed, and I will put them out for everybody in the subdivision. I'll have Artemi do it, actually.
I've got a whole handful of cards right here.
Okay.
I'll pass those out if I run out. So I'll write it down.
Thank you.
I'll write
Hey,
it down and make sure you have it.
If those of you, if you're not on the Facebook groups for Shadowmoss HOA and just the general Shadowmoss plantation, I think that's where Artemi will probably hit them first to put the sheets out. So if you didn't get a sheet tonight, we will get you sheets, okay?
All right, as I pass out these last few cards, maybe one or two more questions. I'll be glad to keep talking as long as y'all, want to keep listening, but I know maybe some of you have other places to go. Any more questions?
How far is your study go? Are you kind of anticipating the rising sea levels, or is that beyond the
No,
years?
that is not beyond. That's a huge component of what we're looking at. What I mentioned as a review of the development standards, I incorporate resilience into that as well. Sea level rise, the changes or trends in the climate that we see that can be documented, not just supposed or something that somebody thinks is happening, but the documented changes in the climatology that we can incorporate into our planning process and our design process moving forward, as well as resilience. Sea level rise is on a huge issue for Charleston, all coastal cities. The article in the paper 2 or 3 days ago, Charleston is leading the nation in a lot of things. Apparently, we're leading in sea level rise as well. So that's a good point, and that's a tremendous issue that's going to be incorporated into our model as we develop our build-out model that moves, 10, 15, 25 years into the future. Yes?
So I have a question about making all of us part of the solution. I bought a new building on Ashley River Road that I have some drainage problems there even. I've called the city numerous times. There may be nothing that can be done because like Bridgepoint, I'm a little, on this one corner, a little lower. But the culvert that's in front on the street on Ashley River collects yard debris, leaves,
Right.
large leaves, pine cones, this and that sometimes people are blowing in to the culvert. I mean,
Right.
it just gets in there.
Right.
Also, so is there nothing that we as neighborhoods and individuals or business owners that there's some kind of trap or a filter?
I'll be glad to come and look at that and help you with that issue.
Because it's full. We pull the manholes open and
Understand.
they're full of trash. Full
Understand.
of stuff that's man-made.
So
It's not
and here's how I'm thinking about that issue. One of our recommendations to Laura as a result of the study is incorporating design features into projects that help her maintenance crews who go out and fight.
it's
I mean, they fight every day, working hard, and sweating and trying to keep these systems clean. But this system is huge and it's dynamic, and just like you said, people are dumping stuff in it all the time. It's really hard to keep up with it. But if we can incorporate design features that help win those battles, we will. So I want to see what you have. Yes.
I want to address the maintenance side of
Right.
in terms of what happened in Hickory Hill. A good bit of the water coming from Shadowmoss
Right.
is coming around the horseshoe that surrounds our neighborhood. We have 4 lakes there. We take care of the lakes, but there's a maintenance issue. Now, the city did appropriate $44,000 about 4 years ago to clean out those areas. That's something that needs to be done on a routine, regular basis. Now, I'm not saying every year, Mr. Mayor, but I am saying that every 2 or 3 years, tree limbs, debris, leaves, all of that stuff, on one side of the neighborhood is 5 feet deep. On the Shadowmoss side of it, it's 10 feet deep. So in our president's meeting, what I suggested was that we dig that out. In the meantime, Laura, your folks put in the rain meter, which is on the bridge coming down Beast Ferry Road. You can see it. There's a solar
Oh,
panel.
that's the solar thing?
That's the solar panel, and that's the meter that's reading the water tides and the change in the water flow.
Right.
So maintenance is going to be key
Right.
in the future to keeping this thing working on a routine basis.
Great, wonderful comment. I agree.
Hey, Al, it's 10 feet deep on our side because y'all dammed it up or something.
Hey, Mike, I appreciate the kudos.
Any more questions? Okay, one more?
Just out of curiosity,
Yes.
who are the people that would be coming out to a neighborhood to take a look at? 'Cause
Who are they?
Yeah, who would be doing it?
Engineers on our staff and members of the surveying crew.
Because when we were talking, we said, you know, we could have a group at our cul-de-sac.
Yep.
Everyone, we could save you a lot of time if we knew when people were coming and so on.
I think what would be more effective for you is to provide comments on areas where you know there are problems. And you can just make sure you direct us to those.
Okay.
That would be really, I appreciate your offer, that's great. If you could communicate that to us, that would be really helpful.
Okay.
All right, one more question?
Now, obviously, in your water model, you've got a database for all of the features for drainage.
Right.
You know what the maintenance is, what the schedule is, how often it has to be done, what has to be done. At the end of it, you should have this anyway. Is there any reason why you wouldn't tell us? Because
Okay.
the current,
I left out something. I made a mistake, I'm sorry. You're gonna have to sit through another meeting like this, if you choose to, because at the end of the study, we have another outreach session that is gonna tell you everything that we learned, the results that we came up with, what the projects are that we recommended, and what we anticipate that the project cost estimates associated with those projects might be at the end of this study. So that'll be available.
Hold on a second, because I'm going in a different direction. Because the people who are in the council, in the departments, they're going to retire. They're going to maybe get, not lose re-election someday. And new people are going to come in. It'll last forever. But if you publish it and you say, this is how often it needs to be cleaned out. This is the thing engineering-wise we need to do. And something's supposed to be done every 2 years, and you're on year 3, and hey, they didn't show up. You know.
That's right. Good comment.
And if you start publishing it now, you've kind of crook-proofed for the next batch of politicians.
I think certainly that taking the information that we provide and being diligent about construction of projects and certainly operation and maintenance of those projects is absolutely certainly the intent of
And
everybody.
if you publish it routinely.
I agree. It will be. It will be.
Okay.
Anything else? Yes. One more?
I just feel like there's not enough, I'm within Shadowmoss, but I'm not in the HOA. So if
Right.
I wasn't connected to my lovely friends over there that are in the newest section of Shadowmoss who are in an HOA,
Yep.
and I know there's 3 HOAs in Shadowmoss, but I just have to be unlucky and not, I would not have known, except that I must have signed up
All
in
right.
December of 2015. So if these are can't be the only people that feel desperate about this stuff.
I think that your issue.
I just, like the other guy, let's announce this. This is collective. This is a group thing, not
Understand.
just for a few streets in Shadowmoss. It's the whole of Charleston.
We'll try real hard to do a better job on a shotgun approach to announcing issues or events. Okay, yes.
The thing is, most of your private houses have been hit, I can name them. And it wouldn't it be easier that through FEMA you can find out all the streets in Hickory Hills and this whole area, which actually got hit? Wouldn't that be easier if I could say, okay, hey, this is what we're gonna do for
Right.
We have most of that information. If somebody filed a claim with FEMA,
Right.
we've been able to get that information.
So doesn't that help knowing what areas are there hot spots besides?
But there are a lot of things that aren't related to houses in here. There's transportation and emergency
Right.
access, and we want to find all that stuff.
3 days after the,
All right, one last question right there.
Mr. Horn, this isn't necessarily directed at you, this is a question more for the city itself. I live at 65 Wolf Drive, I've lived there since 1994, and currently there's a project being presented to the Technical Review Committee for a retail shopping center to be built on the corner of Shadowmoss Parkway and East Ferry Road. And I follow that stuff. I work for a civil engineer. I'm a surveyor. I've been doing it for 30+ years.
Right.
And I'm concerned because there's a small pond on the property. There's the property, like I said, backs up to mine. It's very low. And I'm concerned that once they bring those buildings up and raise the ground in part of that land 6 to 7 feet to make this happen, that we're not going to have any storage space for some of what we get. I mean, obviously, my house is flooded twice. My street's flooded 14 times since 1994.
Let me ask you this.
Yes, sir.
When your house flooded,
Yes, sir.
did you feel like the water surface elevation at your house was directly connected to the river? Or do you feel like there were downstream conveyance issues that?
It's downstream conveyance because it rises up in the storm water,
Okay.
the storm drains. And
Make sure you fill out a sheet and get me your information,
Yes,
and
sir.
I'll talk to you about it.
He's right near where that guy was in the kayak on
Yeah.
National News.
But my concern,
Yeah.
my concern
Keep going, I'm
is
sorry.
my concern is more the moratorium.
Yeah.
Once again, I work for a civil engineer and a surveyor. I certainly do not want to see things stopped in the way of construction.
Right.
Because that's taking food off of my table.
Right.
And I would never stop a construction project simply because I don't want it in my backyard.
Right.
I'm not worried about
Understand.
that. I'm concerned because the finished floor of this building is gonna be 3 feet higher than my floor level and 6 to 7 feet higher than my backyard and 30 feet off my fence. So if we didn't have any flooding, I wouldn't have a problem with that in all honesty. But because of the flooding, I'm concerned that we have 4 houses along that property line now that flood. We're gonna have 6 that flood once that project's done. And I don't believe that the current design is going to be able to stop that from happening. They're draining into an existing pond that's already at the low end of their outfall pipe.
Right.
I mean, without getting technical, it just doesn't look feasible to me.
Right.
That's my concern. I'm wondering when this moratorium ends in November, is this project gonna be allowed? I understand you guys have to let things be allowed based on the laws and the criteria, but we have a huge concern.
You want to address that?
I can, I think. So the plan is to get this study done before the moratorium ends, so that we have a chance to enact those changes that we need to exactly what you're saying, address those kinds of things.
Or extend the moratorium if there's not time to fix the flooding problem, right?
Possibly, that could possibly happen too.
Yeah, that can happen. That's fine. Yeah, Mike, you're right. You're right.
Can I ask a question in relation to that? That project that he's talking about is one that a number of residents in Shadowmoss were very actively involved in monitoring with the design review board when it was underway. And one of the things that I'm curious about with this process is whether or not it will also include identifying ways to ensure that there's some kind of input and actual feedback that, you know, owners that may be affected by a project like this are entitled to get in a public setting. In the current design review board process, the technical aspects of that project are off limits. You can go and you can tell them that I'm next door and my house is lower and it's going to flood, and I know this because I have expertise and I've seen it. And what you will be told is, sorry about your concerns, but there's nothing we can do about it. And if you go to the technical review committee, there's nothing that you're entitled to get from them either. You're told, we are going to run the model and we will make a decision. And so one of the things that I would hope come out of this process is some kind of recognition or recommendations with respect to how some of the process itself might need to be adjusted in order to catch these problems as they arise. And before you get to a point where a property owner thinks that they will be able to do it, and they're told they will be able to do it because it fits the model, whatever else, even though everyone around it who experiences it and already owns property that will be affected by it, is telling a different story and is concerned about it. There's nothing in the process right now that appears to address that in a satisfactory way. And kind of like there are issues with ownership of land, overlapping jurisdictions, in terms of road improvements, in terms of who is responsible for what. I think even within Charleston itself, even within development projects, there are siloed areas that are really frustrating for residents to address, because frankly, that process required a group of people to dedicate themselves to showing up to 5 p.m. meetings downtown every time this guy got on the agenda, just to make sure that it was conveyed how important it was that people thought that, you know, this entry or this neighborhood or this street, Wolf Drive, would be flooded if this project were allowed to go to completion.
And when he says that his street floods, it's disgusting when you ride through there 2 years in a row, last year and the year before. It's like pull out all the carpet, and everybody on that street had to do that.
Well,
We're talking 40 grand homes.
It's
Yeah.
happened 14 times to certain homes, not mine, only twice. But for
I heard
others,
this-
it's been.
I heard that after the third time, your houses gets condemned by FEMA.
Doesn't happen.
That doesn't
Somebody's
happen.
had their house flooded 13 times. This gentleman's house has been flooded 9 times
And you
since
could've
he's
claimed
owned it,
with
and a
FEMA?
total of 14 times.
You could have claimed with the
Since it was
insurance
built.
company and they said, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Do what?
Oh, yeah.
No, the federal government
FEMA
keeps
pays
writing
every
the
year.
check
Yeah.
to build my house back the way that it was before.
That's why
But-
we're in the flood zone, paying flood insurance now is to help fix his house over and over and over again, instead of doing like Galveston, Lipton and done things.
That's why we'll lose our insurance after
Yeah.
3.
And that's
Lift everything.
that's a whole nother.
Roads, everything. Wow.
So if I could maybe close out, and I bet Mr. Horner would agree to stay for a few more minutes individually, because I know some of y'all might want to go home. And that's a great point, and I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Kim.
We've met before, and that's a terrific point. And I will share with you this kind of side topic, that the city is beginning what we're calling a performance innovation program, where I called it performance audits when I was running for mayor. And we've now studied our departments and have come up with the first departments and processes that we're going to review, and we have this other consultant to help us in that. But as it turns out, the very top of the list is our TRC process. And that would be the perfect venue to add the suggestion and request that the TRC process involves some kind of public input that's appropriate, you know, given that it is technical in nature. But that's getting started in September. And so I don't mean to put another task on you, but there'll be some public input for our performance innovation program, and that would be an appropriate place to add that suggestion, and I'll do that as well. So when I became mayor a year and a half ago, Joe Riley did this great job of clearing out the desk. All he left in the desk was a pair of scissors for me to go cut ribbons with. And then I kid about this. You know, it's one of those things that didn't really happen, but I say that I found this old gold coin in the back drawer of one of the drawers, because in 1839, Mayor Courtney offered a $100 gold coin to anybody who could solve the drainage problems in Charleston. And so this has been going on just a little while. But I am planning on giving that gold coin to this man right here later this year.
I want it real bad.
He wants that gold coin real bad, and I think he's going to work to deserve that. Because you know, as you all know, and I appreciate not only you being here, but your patience as we go through this serious second look at the whole matter of the drainage basin here at Church Creek. And you're absolutely right. There was a picture of gloom and doom that was painted, and I personally, and I don't think you were either, willing to accept that. And that's why we're on this process now of a really thoughtful, thorough look, second look at the whole basin, and think about the design standards that need to be changed that would help, looking at the existing assets that we have to see where improvements can be made. And even though some other folks, you know, said no new projects would do any good, I'm relying on Bob to tell us that maybe there are some alternatives out there that we can look at in terms of new projects or improvements. And I want to thank both Councilmember Williams and Riegel for their support in getting us to this point where we hired this man and put the moratorium in place. And the moratorium was not designed to stop development or stop construction. It was designed so that future construction would be thoughtful and that future construction would be, you know, meet new requirements that make sure that they don't contribute to a drainage problem, but in fact help improve drainage going forward. So anyway, that's my little wrap on all this, and I thank you very much for your patience and working with us and identifying all the places that Bob and his team need to go look at. And we're going to keep working on this till we see some real improvements. So I thank you. And I'll stay around also.